Beep, beep, boop, boop, dee, dee, doop, doop, doop. Breaking news happening right now. There is a brain-eating parasite sweeping the nation that is making people weak-minded little ninnies who are not responsible for themselves. That parasite is called statism. If you don't have it, this video is for you. Some signs showing that you might have statism may include you having blind faith towards authority, blindly doing what you're told, consuming GMO fast food garbage. Did I include just doing what you're told to do? And just totally being a brainwashed slave that is conditioned to prop up their slave masters. So yeah, you know, if you're dealing with any of these conditions, this show may not be for you, and that's okay. But in this specific show, in this specific video, we're going to go over all the important news, including PewDiePie's oopsie, the vape ban, the talk of bicycle licenses. You can see why I did the introduction to this video the way I did. Also, we're going to get into Israel spying on Donald Trump, which Donald Trump just doesn't want to believe, as he is considering hiring Bolton 2.0 to replace the previous warhawk known as John Bolton. All of this happening on an independent media broadcast that is supported by you guys, you know, it's awkward that that is supported by you guys buying really cool t-shirts that really cool people wear that keep independent media, you know, independent and away from special interests and controllers who are pushing the left-right divide and conquer agenda, meant, of course, to destroy humanity for the personal benefit of the few. So yeah, you know, if you care about, you know, stuff like that, and independent media surviving, especially in the day and age of censorship and demonetization, check out the Teespring store. The link will be in the description below. And by simply you wearing a t-shirt, you not only get the message across, but you allow us to fight for another day. So yeah, just check out the link below. And you know, I think they're pretty cool. Now, of course, jumping right into the news, just moments ago, we had our, again, just extremely boring and lame presidential debates, which I'm not even going to talk about except for this specific mention, where Joe Biden, the front runner on the Democratic ticket, talked about how he still believes that marijuana should remain illegal and people should be charged as a misdemeanor for using this plant that God put on this earth. And banning things and arresting people seem definitely like a trend in the Democratic ticket, especially with people like Kamala Harris running to be president. And of course, our favorite Beto O'Rourke, who talked about taking away people's guns. And of course, not to be outdone by this just insane power grab and mental disorder that is called politics in our current modern day and age, we have the lifelike epitome of Ralph from The Simpsons, Bill de Blasio, recently talking about how he would like and how he is considering requiring people in New York City who ride on bicycles to be licensed and registered with the state. The nanny state welfare queen whore of them all. I'm sorry, I'm just getting frustrated because I lived in New York City. I still do sometimes come here and seeing the utter destruction of the soul and the life that this city had before is truly extremely sad to witness, and it's continuing with just outrageous proposals like this one, where now people, if this goes through, if this sociopath gets his way, now people would be fined and most likely even arrested for simply riding a bicycle, which the state wants full control of. And already, we're living in a place, in New York City, by the way, if you have an electric scooter or even just an electric assisted pedal bike, the police officers will stop you, take away your vehicle, scooter or bike, and give you an extremely hefty fine for using just a little bit of electricity to help you move along this congested city where the public transportation routes shut down routinely. And this is just the epitome of insanity that is not just credited with the Democrats, it's also credited with the Republicans that work in tandem, pushing their hypocrisy to gain more power over the people while destroying our rights. And of course, and again, on the left, you have the talk of guns, bicycles, and anything else that's not taxed, regulated, or controlled by the government already. And on the right-wing side, you have Donald Trump planning already to announce the federal ban on sale of flavored electronic cigarettes. An industry, by the way, that has been destroying the tobacco industry, but allegedly, because of recent illnesses and deaths, because the government cares so much about you, they are deciding to step in to prevent this harm from sorry, just looking at this, understanding how government works, understanding just a little bit of history, I can't not laugh about just how stupid the government thinks people are to try to sell people the idea that they somehow care about you. They don't. They absolutely do not, and you shouldn't be fooled here, because again, this is what they're talking about. This is what they're talking about here. But let's look at the facts. Now, again, we would be fooling ourselves if we didn't consider the fact that yes, there are related risks and even most likely very serious injuries that do come from vaping. You're literally taking something, vaporizing it with electricity, and putting it in your lungs, how do you not think something's going to be off, or something that is not going to be a response to this? And yeah, of course, illnesses have gone up, and there have been a few deaths, and most importantly, the deaths have pretty much come from black market THC illegal cartridges that have been predominantly sold from China. Yeah, and if you're trying synthetic vape THC marijuana that you ordered from someone randomly on Instagram, I just don't think that's the smartest of moves here. And with this government proposed ban that will most likely come forward as announced by Donald Trump, this black market of illegal sellers online is only going to grow because this ban targets the legal market. Again, prohibition never worked. It never worked with alcohol. It never worked on the war on drugs. And the Democrats are, of course, going along all of this and saying, hey, now ban all this other stuff for me as well. And it's hard not to think that there isn't some kind of bigger lobby behind this bigger effort, because it absolutely makes no sense at all. Again, we look at the raw numbers. Smoking nearly kills over 500,000 people a year. 70,000 people die on average a year because of the opioid crisis, because of the corrupt big pharma medical system in this country. 5,000 people in the United States on average die a year from choking. And then we're going to have Donald Trump come out and say that vapes are bad, as he pushes GMO fast food garbage food on everyone. And by his logic, by his thinking, why don't you just ban spoons? Because it makes people fat. Why don't you ban cars? Because people get in car accidents. Why don't you ban bicycles? Because people get, oh yeah, wait, this dumb tard is already doing this in New York City. We're living in a country where glyphosate, Monsanto's controversial weed killer, is still legal when it's banned in many countries. Glyphosate, still legal in this country. But flavored vapes? No, you won't be allowed to have that for your safety and security. My ass. Sorry, I think I could say that. That's not... Anyway, yeah, whatever. Now in other, that's a really dumb move news, we have no one other than PewDiePie that pledged $50,000 to the ADL organization as of yesterday, and then after a massive backlash has decided to rescind his donation, saying, quote, that he didn't know a lot about the ADL. Now, the ADL is a massive organization that participates with Google, with YouTube, with Facebook in recent efforts to predominantly censor and attack free speech, because God forbid people have the ability to converse openly and freely about issues. No, that can't happen. And of course, the ADL has caused a ton of damage to small independent creators, specifically even campaigning, and many people attributing the ADL for specifically having Disney sever the ties with PewDiePie. And of course, this raised a lot of questions for people, ultimately saying, why would PewDiePie sponsor an organization that's going to be attacking and deplatforming him and everyone else? Why would PewDiePie finance the next adpocalypse destruction of independent voices and creators out there, which of course was a legitimate criticism that I raised specifically on Twitter. But specifically after this reaction, I have to ask, how did PewDiePie not know about this organization that many people point to being the one responsible for the direct attacks on him? Did he just magically forget about that? Highly unlikely. He also said in his video that he was recommended to do this, but until he answers specifically from whom, I'm going to have my doubts about PewDiePie. And there's even this video that, by the way, I tweeted on my specific Twitter account. The link will be in the description below, where PewDiePie talks about how he had people come to him, telling him that he needed to do a charity for Jewish organizations, which he said no to because he said it would come off disingenuously and that people would see through this as a fake kind of attempt here, which he said in 2018. So yes, unless we learn exactly who recommended this to PewDiePie, I would still be extremely skeptical of him and whatever is happening behind the scenes that he's being kind of very tight-lipped about. So yeah, in other news that's actually very important, the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq are still continuing as the United States just dropped 40 tons of bombs on an Iraqi island that they previously said they long defeated ISIS on. But again, just like we keep telling you, the whole war on terror, just like the whole war on drugs, just like the whole war on anything that the government concludes on, it's all a scam. And it's all built to perpetrate the problem that, of course, the solution is always going to be more government, as seen with the war on terror that is going to be endless and always going to continue, as it is right now. As, of course, billions of your money, of your taxes, are just completely, utterly wasted on for no reason at all. And that's not even talking about the sheer death and destruction created by these pointless, idiotic wars that will only perpetrate and create more conflict in the future. And our ally, our greatest ally in this endeavor, Israel, well, we're finding out that they're a little bit paranoid about the obvious love affair that's happening between the United States and them, and they're feeling a little bit insecure. So, you know, they, according to top U.S. officials, that it was Israel that reportedly planted mysterious spy devices near the White House to spy on Donald Trump. The Israeli Prime Minister came on and said that this was a total lie, but there are 3 former U.S. officials that, again, it's important to understand the facts here, are remaining anonymous, that do claim the opposite of that, and that according to them, it is a fact that there was cell phone surveillance devices uncovered around Donald Trump to track him, with the officials saying that it was pretty clear that Israel was responsible for this egregious action. Netanyahu, again, without any evidence, just blatantly denied this. And again, Netanyahu has been caught many times publicly lying, providing false information specifically to stir up more conflict. And Israel has a history of spying on the United States, specifically to espionage actions against the U.S. government and its officials. But Donald Trump is saying, no, there's no way that this was Israel. But again, not much kind of counter evidence provided to that. But I wouldn't expect anything else from Donald Trump, that has been a massive supporter and cheerleader of the Israeli state, going far beyond the cozy relationship that even many of his predecessors had with Israel beforehand. And when you look at Trump's foreign policy, it is directly identified with a policy that predominantly benefits the state of Israel, Saudi Arabia, and other close U.S. allies in the specific region, while, according to many experts, hindering America's stance in the world. And this to me will look like it will continue, and you might be saying, but hey, John Bolton was just fired and excluded from being his national security advisor. And yes, many people have seen a lot of optimism, have seen a lot of hope that Donald Trump will somehow soften his stance with his foreign policy, which again, compared to his predecessor, is just continuing the same kind of aggressive pathway. But that optimism is just hope, in my opinion, and to me, hope is very dangerous. And this situation should be met with skepticism, not optimism, because we're getting official details that Donald Trump is considering a Richard Nixon move and appointing the current Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, the former CIA head, to be also his national security advisor at the same time that he is Secretary of State. The second time that this happened before was with Henry Kissinger when he ran the State Department and was the national security advisor for Richard Nixon in 1973. What an interesting parallel to have this happen previously before with Henry freaking Kissinger. I mean, sorry, I'm raising my voice here, getting a little frustrated. But yeah, I guess it just makes perfect sense when you look at the overall landscape that we have been uncovering here on an independent media organization that is always in danger of just being fully deleted and censored, like so many other individuals that we have talked about, documented, and have been friends with that have been eviscerated, destroyed, censored, just deleted from the online social media sphere. And we're mainly only here because of you, your support, you guys sharing this video, and of course buying really cool t-shirts that you could only get through our Teespring store that send out a really cool message to the general public and hopefully make people think about really important issues with just a little bit of humor. And if you appreciate that, thank you. Thanks for being like-minded. Stay tuned for more here on WeAreChange.org.